back to Tuesday Talks with Teena. We're taking inventory every week on the healthy habits that we are starting and creating. And we're doing all of that during our lunch break. So thanks for joining me. We're in week 23. Owning your failures is what we're going to be talking about this week. Again, this is a weekly intentional fitness focused self-care. So if you have your journal that comes with your download link, your registration link, you can use that, download that. Or if you have a notepad and paper and pen, you could utilize that as well. So I am your host, Teena Cathay. I am a business owner, certified health coach, and personal trainer. I'm currently serving in the Air National Guard, and I am an advocate for women finding balance. Disclaimer, even though I am certified, I do suggest that you consult with your primary care physician when you are starting any new fitness routine or any changes with your health and nutrition. Our funding disclaimer. Funding for this initiative is provided in part by Mission Ambition LLC and Teena Cathay Lifestyle LLC. We also have many military women participating in this series, thanks to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Through the Community Mental Health Association of Michigan, they are providing additional funding for this initiative through a federal community mental health block grant and a substance abuse and prevention and treatment block grant supporting Women Veteran Strong. So just a couple guidelines. Please be respectful, no selling or soliciting, and then no judging of anyone, and yourself is included in that. All right, so let's get into it. What did we talk about last week? Last week, we talked about actively practicing affirmations, and then we discussed on how they can help improve your health, the best time to say them, which is any time of the day that you're needing them, morning, before, during a workout, or in the evening before bed when you've had a long day. Wherever you want to place those affirmations, you can place them. And then we also discuss visualization affirmations. So that's you either having something to look at, like our vision boards, or you just using your imagination in that sense. Or even sticky notes on mirrors and walls. We talked about that too. All right, so let's get into lesson 1, why failing is more beneficial than our success. So you can learn from your mistakes. So when we fail, it's often, not a lot of people see it this way, but it is actually an opportunity for you to improve. It can be a valuable teacher if you are failing, because if you fail, and this could be for anything, for your fitness or for your career, whatever it might be, you kind of learn from those mistakes and you build up on those, and then you go from there. Making sure you're just taking that inventory so that in your future, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes. It can help develop resiliency. So failure can help us develop that resiliency and help us bounce back if we experience that failure. A lot of times you'll see, liken it to like athletes, those who have never lost a game, they're usually the ones that when it comes to that big game or they lose something, they're the ones that take it the hardest because they don't know what loss feels like. But someone who, like the underdog, I tend to always usually root for the underdog because they know what it likes, how it feels to fail, and they're more likely to work even harder and learn from those mistakes from failing in the past. So when that big game comes around, they utilize that resiliency that they've learned from failing before to execute and win moving forward. Also, it builds character. This can be a valuable teacher, and you can see this a lot, especially with kids. Kids definitely learn faster than adults, I would say this way. Just think about when a kid's learning how to walk. How many times have you seen a kid running and falling, scraping their knee, crying? But then the next second, it's like they dumped it and they get up and try again. And then all of a sudden, they're just running down the street like it never happened. So they learned from that mistake, and it actually builds that confidence for them to keep going. And it can make you more stronger and self-aware in a sense. And then also is good in a way too, to help build that character as well, and learning your strengths and weaknesses. And then lastly, it provides motivation. When you fail, you often feel a sense of urgency to improve. Hopefully you do. And then it makes you want to succeed in the future, right? No one wants to fail at something or fail at not reaching their fitness goals and then just stay in that and just say like, you know what? I had half of a box of cookies. I'm done. I can't do anything else. Weight loss is just not in the cards for me. I'm just going to keep eating junk and just leave it at that. But you can flip that around and then you can utilize that and say, maybe I'm going to start portioning my cookies or whatever it is that you want to place in that scenario. So then that way you can improve in the future. So it's important part of growth overall. I'm sure we've all had some failures in our lives, whether it was with fitness and wellness or whether it was career, maybe a relationship, but it can definitely enhance and build character and help us come out good on the other side. So we're going to go into our first journal prompt. And then bear with me, I put some embedded music this time. So let's see if it works. Turn that down, it's kind of hot. All right, so what fitness goals have you failed at, but eventually learned from? So, and I would like everyone to share. I have a good one to share too. So write that down. We're going to take a few minutes and then we'll come back and talk about it. All right, one more minute. All right. Would anyone like to share what fitness goals have you failed at but eventually learned from?
I would have to say I have not really failed. It's just unfortunately I have to adapt to my conditions to function. So if it's a good day, I will get up and try to move a little bit. And if it's not, you know what? I do what I can. So as long as I'm moving forward, it's good. I have not lost any weight and I'm going to Africa next month. But my attitude is, it is what it is. I can still fit my clothes, so I'm good.
I like that. I like how you've reframed your thinking around that. Because I know you have a lot going on too, and you're going back and forth, and you're kind of just at the point figuring out what works and what doesn't work.
Correct.
Good deal, Carmencita. Thanks for sharing.
I guess I'll go because Susan looks like she's still writing. I don't know about goals, but when I started this fitness journey with my doctor, she would throw out, well, I want you to start doing jumping jacks. I want you to start doing sit-ups. And I told her, like, I can't. Well, I started the jumping jacks. And then slowly but surely, my body was like, I don't think we can do that. And I already knew about the sit-ups. So I adjusted to where I can do those exercises, but they won't be so strenuous on my body. Now, I don't know if you were talking about when you say fitness goals, were you talking about that, or were you talking about something else?
So you can, it can be anything. So it can be whether it was with health or fitness, it could be relationship, it could be
Yeah,
career.
I always stuck when I exercise, I always do it. But like I said before, if I usually work out Monday through Friday. So Fridays is usually busy for me because I got a lot to do. And now it's about to be really busy with the startup. But I try to, as long as I exercise in the morning before 8 o'clock, I am good.
Perfect.
I try to stick to that. And that's all I have to say. So Susan can talk.
Thanks, Christina.
It's all good, Christina. I usually talk more than anybody else. So anyways, I put down overdoing exercise is the thing that first came to mind because like hurting myself and then not being able to exercise at all has probably been more my issue. I think I'm ADHD. I think I have way too much energy. And so exercise helps balance that off. So my thing that I learned was slow and steady wins the race. And I'm learning to maintain to sustain muscle tone and muscles gained, as well as the strength in certain areas, because I'm short, but I have large breasts and I've had neck and back issues because of the size of my breast in accordance to the size of my body. So my chiropractor has been very good at making me hone in on certain areas of my body, like my upper body, which most women are pretty weak, to begin with. We're not designed to have that strength. And so at my age, at 60, that's kind of where I'm at. And that changes as I age. I have different areas of concern that I work on.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sue. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And I want to touch on something that everyone kind of noted, and I appreciate and I love that you guys do this and you have that mindset, is that everything you've done is not necessarily a failure. I don't usually call things a failure, but for the sake of the topic, just to kind of pull stuff out, I utilize that word because it's a common word that people tend to use. But everyone noted that they have tried something and it just didn't work instead of it failing. And you tried something else in its place and went from there. So I like that you guys all have that mindset that I tried this one thing and it didn't work for me. That's fine. Now I'm going to move on to the next thing and see if that works for me. And you're constantly adjusting because that's what you're going to have to do anyway. And then Sue, you mentioned like as you're getting older, things change, your body changes, your lifestyle changes, and there's adjustments that you're going to need to make. And so you guys are awesome for having that mindset with that. All right, so let's go into our second lesson. We're going to talk about letting go of the shame of failing, or for everyone's term, we can say like having to adjust or continue to try new things, because that can be frustrating in itself, having to constantly try new things after something didn't work. So we're going to talk about that. And it's common to feel shame and embarrassment when you have to do that. But it's important that we let go of some of these negative feelings of having to constantly either fail or adjust or try new things, and continue to move forward, which it sounds like you all are doing, because at the end of the day, you are making progress in doing those. So here are some tips that can help you let go of that shame that you might be feeling, that little voice that might be in the back of your head. So try reframing your thinking, which you guys are already right there doing that, which is awesome. So it's not a failure or a reflection of any of your abilities. It's just that if something doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can focus and learn from that experience and then see how you can improve in the future. So I would suggest taking notes on that, like take notes if you have medications that you probably take or exercises that didn't feel good, just to kind of have that note. So when you go to try something else, like, hey, I already know this didn't work for me. So that way you're saving yourself time and energy. Also, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness. We talk about this a lot. We talked about giving yourself gratitude and not beating yourself up about what you eat or don't eat, or whether you move that day or not. Everyone fails. Everyone has a setback. Everyone has bad days sometimes, but the difference maker is whether you stay in that state of mindset or that state of physicality instead of moving forward from it. So don't beat yourself up over that. Make the mistake and then make the corrections from there. Also, set realistic goals. I know that I've done this before. I set this huge goal, like, oh, I'm gonna do this by this time. I'm gonna like drop my run time down by 2 minutes, which is a lot. 2 minutes is a lot to drop your mile run time off of. So that's not a realistic goal, right? You set those realistic goals and expectations on yourself, and then you set yourself up to become disappointed. Like that just doesn't make sense, right? We would tell our friends to not do that. So then just make sure you're not doing that to yourself. So you got a comment on that?
Maybe 2 seconds, like improve your score 2 seconds. But no, I totally get that. Like, I think when you're empowered though, and you're just like feeling really good about yourself, or the exact opposite, you're like, I'm going to kick this in the butt. I'm going to do this. And that drive is like, okay, back it off, girl, back it off.
It's that adrenaline. It's like that adrenaline gets you. You start like, yeah, I got this. And also you're like, wait, no, I don't. Yeah, let's maybe like 5 to 10 seconds or something like that. But yes, I'm glad you understand. Another thing that we can do is we can seek support. So you can talk to your friend about it. If you have talked to a coach, or even consulting with your doctor to make sure you're kind of staying on that right path. And then even if you just need to vent, like letting it out instead of keeping it inside is also healthy as well. It can help you move forward if we seek that support. So again, that's that having that accountability partners where they can also help with that. And then lastly, but not least, like just keep going. Again, you guys all keep talking about the things that you tried and you didn't just stay stagnant, you move forward from there. So just, if you failed, document it, note it, move forward. Again, because that process that you're going through, it helps make you stronger. It helps build that resiliency. And then it helps you to let go of that shame and embarrassment. And I'm not sure if you guys feel embarrassment when you are talking to like friends or family members or whatnot, but then that would also stem from caring so much and taking a lot of stock in what they think of or about you. And I know it's easier said than done to let that go, because then some people, their words have more weight than other people. But if that is the case, maybe try that too, not letting the views of how someone thinks or looks at you affect how you feel or view yourself as well. All right. So let's go into our second journal prompt. So the question is, how did you feel when you did not reach your fitness goal? Like, did you have to change that goal, or did you just put a pin in it and that pin is just kind of getting rusty now because you haven't went back to try it? So think about how you felt. All right. Now, who would like to share? How did you feel when you did not reach your fitness goal? And if you don't mind sharing what that goal was.
All right, losing weight. I really need to lose 70 pounds because I am a little over heavy. And mainly it's because of diabetes running my family strong. I always stay on the borderline of diabetes. However, I look good in my clothes, so I don't worry about all the other stuff. And I look pretty for me, not for anybody else. So I don't like when men make comments because I think it's one is sexist and two is just rude. But you say pretty, okay, fine. But you go anything past that, it's just a little bit too much. But it would be nice to lose weight. And when I do, thank you, Jesus. If not, it is what it is. Bottom line is as long as I'm able to still move, I'm good. I can do better on another day that I feel better.
Thank you, Kamersita. And yes, sorry about those comments that are thrown your way. Guys can sometimes just be a little bit childish. I'll
Very true.
Keep it
And
nice.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay,
Christina.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go next. I really don't have a fitness goal. As long as I move and I feel good, that's all that matters. I mean, that My Fitness Pal, when I be putting all my food and stuff in, they be like, well, your desired weight for this is going to be this time. That's good, but I don't put that expectation on myself because for the simple fact, I know my age and my metabolism has slowed down. So I really don't have a fitness goal. And is that a bad thing that I don't have a fitness goal?
No, you both, you and Carmesita, and Stu will probably say the same thing. You are more focused on that longevity. And I'm right there with you. As long as I feel good about myself, I'm able to move around because there's people who I see who are not able to do that. They can't get up and go to another room freely or whatnot, or without excruciating amount of pain or whatever the case is. So yes, that's not a bad thing at all. Like longevity is essentially like an aspiration and a goal of feeling good at the end of the day. So yeah, you're on the right track.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
No, I was actually, after the first question, I was going to say, I'm like goals, like setting goals are not at the top of my list because I've made it and I've tried to do that. And sometimes like setting those goals, like freaks me out more and creates more anxiety than just being who I am and knowing what I got to do. But that's why I said initially, as far as weight loss, more of my goals have been weight loss than exercise. And initially I get discouraged and then I'd make excuses, but I've learned to practice some self-compassion by owning my responsibilities to take care of myself. Like nobody else is, like, I can't blame anybody else about, oh, I had too much to do, I didn't do my schedule. It's like maybe like I got to do it. So I just reset and reframe my goals like you put at the beginning of like all of this. And it's the long-term thing. And I love that you mentioned the longevity part because I'm not into killing myself or like going, hey, I can check that goal off, I did it.
No, yes. Thank you so much for sharing, Sue. It is all about feeling good at the end of the day. Again, and some people are more so, oh, I'm trying to get into this dress. But if you think about it, just from my experience working in the health and fitness field, a lot of people that try to tie like a weight loss goal or health expectation to a thing, like an event or a piece of clothing or for someone else, they either have a hard time reaching the goal. They do very extreme things to reach the goal. They do a lot of yo-yo dieting, and then they end up falling into like a depression or self-loathing because they reached the goal, but then they fell right back because they didn't set up those healthy habits. And it wasn't a long-term self-sustaining thing that they were doing. So they kind of fall back and get in worse shape. So though I think the longevity outlook is, in my opinion, healthier.
But
Well,
then
I
if you
like,
look at the people that did that yo-yo, Luther Vandross, Aretha Franklin, all had serious health issues that compiled because of that yo-yoing too. So that's really not healthy.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and we talked about that a few weeks ago too. It's like once you yo-yo, you start losing the weight, gaining the weight, losing the weight, gaining the weight. So it's kind of like your fat. We talked about how your fat pockets, they kind of like shrink and expand, but then they don't really shrink. They kind of just get a little loose, and so you still have these pockets, and it's very unhealthy. Like you said, it's unhealthy for you. People end up with all like worse off than what they did before sometimes.
I agree with
Thanks
Carmesita.
for that
too, like,
point, Carmesita.
yeah, I've always lived on the edge of high cholesterol and pre-diabetic too, Carmesita. So I totally agree with that. And I'm like, my back's got to be up against the wall, and my accountability, like my doctors are like my accountability partners as well as my Fitbit on my arm. I love this Fitbit because it tells me if like I need to kick it up and get out before I go to bed and get a few more steps in. And, but those are like little things. And I was going to increase like my steps from 5 to 10,000. And I'm like, just leave it at 5 for now. And like, when you get to 10, like, yeah, celebrate. And then I was getting to 10 without like even thinking about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 4 days in a row. You know what I mean? But when I had that goal, it like created more anxiety. And I don't know. I appreciate you, all of you guys. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sue. That makes so much sense. Good stuff, ladies. All right, let's go into our last lesson part 3, failing versus failure. So failing is a temporary setback, which again, we've all had those at some point in our life throughout various things. Again, we can span this across career, relationships, health and wellness, but a failure is something that's permanent state of inadequacy. So that is something that's subjective to the person, and you do not have to stay in that. I do know some people who are in that, and you guys are not any of them. So again, we see that there are two different concepts, right? And failing refers to a specific instance or situation that we have had. But you being a failure is not that. So that is more so a failure is a permanent state of mind. And that is something that, again, you guys do not have. And that is something that you don't want to have if you do have an instance of failure, of failing at something. Again, it's a temporary setback, and it does not define us as a person at all whatsoever. Whether it's rather a part of us growing, building that character, and creating that resiliency. See, it all just keeps coming back full circle. And it's just a part of your experience. When something happens to me personally, I like to tell people, oh, it's just going to go in the chapter of my book. Because that's essentially what it is. It's a chapter. It's something that happened. Some people journal and they go back and they'll see like, oh my goodness, this happened. And I look where I am now. So that if you want to start journaling things that have happened to you, you can do that. That's a great way to create that self-gratification as well, to see and look back, say, oh my goodness, I didn't meet this goal or aspiration, but look what I did accomplish. And if you did fail at something, it probably was you succeeding was probably a result of you having that failure. So again, try not to sit in that permanent state of being a failure, because that's not even what it is. It's just you took a risk, it didn't work out, and then you just move forward from there. Because there's so many times that I've failed at so many different things, not even as a kid, as an adult as well. Does anyone have like any questions or not understand like having failures and being a failure? Does that concept and that separation make sense?
Totally.
It is the failure that quits and never comes back to retry again or come up with another plan. So as long as we, like you said, as long as we keep moving, it's a temporary setback.
Yeah, just add it to the chapter of your book. Maybe you can create a full book one day, sell it. What is it? A biography, if you write it yourself.
Yeah, I'm working on that actually. I started in the 5th grade and anyways, but that's a whole nother story. But like you were saying, when we're young, we don't have the ego, like as we age that it's almost like, though I see it kind of as almost like a self-preservation too. We're trying to like keep ourselves from getting hurt from anybody else's opinion and becoming who we really need to be or who we want to be. And yeah, I like what you said, that the resiliency that's built through the failures or, the setbacks. I think sometimes one word, like if somebody said, you're such a failure, I mean, that would just like consume me, just that one word. And I'm like, if I said to myself, I'm a failure, that would be a totally different game, but when you own your own crap and your own setbacks, it's much easier to kind of get back up and say, hey, who cares what anybody else thinks? I lived more of my life caring about what other people thought. And now I don't have to. And it's so freeing.
It is. It's also like a weight is being lifted off of you too.
Amen.
And then think about it like this: if you need to flip it, if that failing and failure is too much, think about success. How many times do people say, oh, that person's successful, or you're a big success, or you're just a success? But like all of these things are subjective. Like it's based off of the opinion or thought of someone else. So who are you to say that someone is a failure or a success? It's like, but you're basing it off of what a failure means to you or what success means to you. So when someone goes to you and says, oh, you're a failure, but that's subjective, like that's them, that's their opinion. That's not a definition of exactly who you are, because everyone's definition is different for failing or being a failure or success. So think about it in that way as well.
There's a young lady on YouTube and she dances, Caucasian young lady, and she's chunky, so she's obese. However, that young lady can move, and I mean, she's moving with the thinner people to the beat. And it's like, I look at her like, all right, now go right on, make a little move for me too.
Awesome. Do you remember her YouTube name?
No, I'll remember it for next
Her
week.
channel?
But she is an inspiration to see her. And when she was in school, they used to always tease her. And she didn't think she could do it. Somebody told her to go do it. Needless to say, she's still out there. And you see her in different videos doing the same thing.
All right, document that. What are your takeaways from the past fitness failures? You were resilient, write that you were resilient. If you learned and gained a new skill, write that down. Discovered a new ability that you didn't know that you had. All those things count and matter. Or if you just figure you started walking, you're like, that's something I don't enjoy doing. I would prefer to bike, then that's something good too. All righty. So let's talk about the takeaways. Would anyone like to share some of the takeaways they learned from either past failures or having to adjust, or the adjustments they had to make? Like, what did you learn about yourself?
I'll go first. What I learned about when my doctor said do jumping jacks and sit-ups. And my body was like, no. So I adjusted and figured out something that I can do in place of that to move. So that was my takeaway.
Awesome. And didn't that feel good for you to like figure that out for yourself too?
Yeah.
Perfect. What did you replace it with? What did you end up doing?
Yoga at the time. And now
Awesome.
I'm doing like a chair yoga. I'm beginning to really like to do chair yoga. And then at the end, I find a favorite song that I like to dance to on YouTube, and I dance the whole song.
I love it.
Yeah.
And did you do that stuff before you discovered you
No.
didn't jump? See,
No.
something great came out of that. Now you know something you love to do.
Yeah.
I love it. I could picture you finishing your yoga, then getting up and just 2 to 3 minutes just dancing around the house.
Yes, I love it. I really do. I love it.
Thank you, Christina.
That's great, Christina. Yoga to me is kind of like a really nice, to me, it's like a segue into aging, because you're getting stretching, but you're also using your own body muscles, to kind of almost like feel the muscles and feel who you are, be more intentional, if you will. But I put down comparing my fitness level only created animosity and resentment, and it really didn't. I mean, I found this in business, at work and stuff like that. And I've always been very competitive. So comparing was a really bad place for me to be. So instead of comparing, I compete with myself. And I allow myself the freedom to adjust to my goals and kind of where I'm at today, just for today. And like you said, you're not feeling well today, and you're giving yourself permission to take a nap after we get out of here. So I'm good. Thank you so much.
Good stuff, Sue. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad you're not feeling that way towards yourself anymore. It has me going crazy. Like, wait, why is it I did all this?
Well, it's getting towards the end. You got a lot of things going on, all that kind of stuff happens, so take care of yourself today, girlfriend.
Yeah, I hope you feel better.
Thank you. You all have a beautiful rest of the day. Get outside if you can. It's so nice.
Yes, and y'all have a great week.
All right. See you guys next
week.
week.
You guys too.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.